So you've probably heard this term floating around developer circles for the past year or so, vibe coding. It's this idea that promises to make building software feel, well, like magic. But at the same time, a lot of experts are warning that it might just be a ticking time bomb.
And this, right here, this really gets to the heart of the whole debate. On one hand, you have this incredible promise of AI-driven development. It's structured, it's efficient. But on the other hand, you've got this looming danger of just chaos. We're talking hidden debt, messy code, and some pretty major security risks. So which is it? Is vibe coding a revolutionary breakthrough, or is it just a really dangerous shortcut? Let's break it down.
Okay, so first things first. What exactly is vibe coding? The term has really blown up recently thanks to people like Andre Karpathy talking about it. So let's get a really clear definition.
At its core, the idea is actually pretty simple. You basically stop writing code line by line. Instead, you just describe what you want in plain English to an AI. You tell it, hey, build me an app that does this, or fix this bug, or add this feature. The AI goes and generates the code, and your job is just to check if it works. You're judging it based on the vibe, the final outcome, not by reading every single line of code it spits out. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, right? It's a total shift in philosophy. With traditional programming, you're kind of like a mason, carefully laying every single brick because you understand exactly how the wall is supposed to be built. But with vibe coding, you're more like a movie director. You tell your AI crew what scene to shoot, and then you just judge the final cut. So you're moving from control through deep, fundamental understanding to control through just rapid trial and error.
All right, so let's get into the good stuff. Let's talk about the promise of this new workflow. Because honestly, when vibe coding really works, it feels like pure magic. The biggest selling point here is speed. I mean, unbelievable speed. You can take an idea that's just in your head and turn it into a working prototype, or an internal tool, or just a fun personal project in a matter of hours, not weeks. This is an absolute game changer for building out minimum viable products or simple automations where the most important thing is just getting a result fast. So how does all this magic actually happen? Well, it's really a whole new stack of technology working together. At the very center, you've got these incredibly powerful large language models. They're the brains of the whole operation. Then you've got specialized code editors, IDEs like Cursor, that are built from the ground up for this AI-first way of working. And finally, we're seeing these AI agents pop up that can just go and work on your code base all by themselves, making changes across a bunch of files based on just one high-level command from you. But you know how it goes? There's no such thing as a free lunch. Every powerful shortcut has a hidden cost. And this is where we get to that whole time bomb part of the story. Look, vibe coding is fantastic for whipping up a quick prototype. But if you take that same move fast and break things attitude and apply it to a serious production-level project, well, you might be setting yourself up for disaster. All that time you saved at the beginning can easily turn into a massive, expensive headache down the road. And the single biggest risk here, without a doubt, is security. AI models, in their rush to just get something working, often forget the absolute basics. We're talking things like input validation, and that can leave these huge gaping holes open for things like SQL injection attacks, or it could leak sensitive customer data. If you're building any system that handles payments or personal info, a mistake like that is a catastrophe waiting to happen. Beyond security, there are two other big costs to worry about. First, there's technical debt. It builds up at lightning speed when no one is actually reviewing the code for quality. And that means every future change or bug fix becomes way more complicated and expensive. And second, you've got the problem of AI hallucinations. This is where the model just confidently makes something up, like a library that doesn't even exist, or it writes code that looks perfect on the surface but is actually super inefficient or just flat out wrong. And we're not just talking about technical problems here. This stuff hits your wallet too. You got your monthly subscriptions, sure, and you can get hit with usage-based costs if you're iterating a lot. But the real danger is that hidden cost, the iceberg. The time you saved up front is just the tiny tip. The massive, crippling expense of having to fix a fundamentally flawed architecture once it's already live in production, that's the danger lurking just beneath the surface. Okay, so we have the magic, and we have the time bomb. The question is, how do we use one without setting off the other? Well, the key, it turns out, is to change your approach based on how much experience you have. So let's break this down into two roles. On one side, we have the apprentice. That's the beginner developer. And on the other, we have the trailblazer, the seasoned expert. Each one needs a very different strategy to use this power safely. All right, if you're just starting out, listen up because this is for you. The number one rule is do not skip the fundamentals. You just can't. You wouldn't try to direct a movie if you didn't know how a camera works, right? Same idea here. You should use vibe coding as a tool to go faster after you've learned the basics. And always, always ask the AI to explain what it's doing. Make it a learning tool. And please, stick to safe, low-risk projects to start with. Now, for you seasoned pros, the trailblazers, your game plan is totally different. Your job is to treat the AI like a very, very fast junior developer. Think about it. You would never let a junior developer design your entire system architecture without any oversight, right? Of course not. The same rule applies here. You own the architecture. You own the security. You can use the AI for the implementation details, but you have to insist on small, reviewable changes. And then you take all that time you're saving and you use it to add more discipline, like building automated tests and running security scans. So this brings us to the elephant in the room, the big question that everybody is asking. If AI is writing so much of the code now, what does the future of a programming job even look like? And the answer, honestly, is that these tools don't get rid of developers. They just make them way more powerful. The job isn't going away, but it is changing in a really fundamental way. It's shifting away from the manual labor of just typing out syntax and moving toward higher level, more impactful activities. Yeah, the focus is just moving up the value chain. So instead of spending all your time writing code, the modern developer's job is becoming more about high-level specification, figuring out system integration, doing rigorous validation, and this is the big one, ultimately taking full responsibility for the final outcome. The developers who master these tools aren't going to be replaced. They're going to become these incredibly efficient operators with a huge amount of engineering judgment.
So, when you boil it all down, what are we left with? It's this simple truth. Vibe coding is an unbelievably powerful tool. If you use it with engineering discipline, it really is magic. But without that discipline, it's a time bomb. The choice of how you decide to wield that power, well, that's up to you.
And that's our look at vibe coding. If you want to go even deeper and see more practical examples, you can find the source article for this whole analysis at the link on your screen. Thanks for joining me.